There are moments when time slips. A glance at the clock confirms what you already sensed. Minutes have stretched into hours, or hours vanished into minutes. It's not a mistake. It's not fatigue. It's a fracture, a ripple in the rigid illusion of time as a constant, and someone somewhere taught you to ignore it. But the ancients didn't ignore it. They explored it. They charted time not by calendars, but by consciousness. And in their secret texts, among rituals long erased from history, they preserved a meditation. One practice, one vibration, one rhythm that, if done correctly, bends time. This is not metaphor. Time bending is not science fiction. It is a human faculty long suppressed. And this meditation, it wasn't just lost. It was hidden, buried beneath centuries of noise, ritual, and mistranslation. Because those in power understood, when a person can alter their perception of time, they are no longer controllable. What would happen if you could slow down time, not externally, but internally? If you could stretch a moment until it revealed truths invisible at normal speed? That is what this practice does, and that is why it was silenced. The modern mind is addicted to forward motion, scrolling, swiping, rushing, always somewhere else, always later. But time isn't linear, not in dream, not in trauma, not in trance. The ancient meditation you're about to learn doesn't relax you, it rewires you. It shifts the very rhythm of your perception. It changes how your body receives the present, how your breath organizes memory, how your awareness begins to separate from the artificial speed of the world. And as this separation deepens, you begin to see time for what it is, not a stream, but a spiral, a layered field, a living structure you can navigate, not just move through. Most never do, because the silence required for this practice is not gentle. It demands, it confronts, it strips away the false urgency of modern life until all that's left is now, not the idea of now. The real now, the one that stretches infinitely in both directions. The ancients warned, once you learn to stretch a moment, you can never return to shallow time, because real presence bends time like heat bends light, and when time bends, truth appears. You were taught that time moves forward, that it begins at birth, ends at death, and ticks in a straight line. But you've already lived through moments that shattered that lie. You've woken from dreams that felt longer than the night. You've relived a memory so vividly it felt like now. You've lost time in music, in fear, in love. And in each of those moments, something inside you knew. Time isn't constant. It bends. But why and how? The ancients didn't view time as an arrow. They saw it as a spiral, each moment folding into the next, each event echoing the past, the present, and the possible future simultaneously. The linear timeline we accept is not the structure of reality, it's the structure of control. Linear time keeps you obedient, trapped, predictable. But spiral time? It makes you powerful. This meditation, the one that bends time, isn't about slowing thoughts or visualizing a better life. It's about breaking the trance of forward motion. It's about dropping into the center of the spiral, where past and future dissolve, and only pure presence remains. And presence is dangerous, because a person who is truly present cannot be manipulated by imagined fears or fabricated futures. They cannot be sold false urgency. They no longer live by the clock because they feel the moment in ways clocks cannot measure. The body understands this first. When you begin this meditation, your breathing changes. Your heartbeat slows. The nervous system, long overdriven by anticipation and anxiety, shifts into coherence. And then it begins, the stretching. A single second expands. The mind protests. The ego panics. But something deeper, something older awakens. And in that expansion, you begin to notice things, how your thoughts are echoes, how emotions carry time signatures, how your entire life is a rhythm you've never truly listened to. You've moved through time, but have you ever moved with it? The ancients would sit for hours in stillness, not to escape time, but to enter it fully, not to lose themselves, but to remember. Because in the spiral, there is memory stored in sensation. There is guidance encoded in breath. There is presence that unlocks perception, and perception is the beginning of bending. Because once you change how you see time, you begin to change how you are in time. And once that shifts, your entire life begins to move differently. Not faster, deeper. They told you time is external, a ticking clock, a spinning planet, a calendar on your wall. But here's what they never taught. Time doesn't pass. You do. You pass through it. You carry it. You measure it, not in hours or minutes, but in memory, in sensation, in change. Your body is the clock, your heartbeat, your breath, your aging skin. Every cell marks time more honestly than any mechanical device ever could. And yet, when you drop into silence, true disciplined silence, that internal clock shifts. You felt it, that moment when the breath becomes longer, the pulse slows, the air feels thick, stretched. You glance at the clock and realize you were gone for only 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour, or the opposite. You blink and the day has vanished. This isn't imagination. This is entrainment. The body has rhythms, circadian, ultradian, hormonal, neurological. When you learn to tune them consciously, you begin to influence how time is perceived. And perception is everything. Because what the mind believes is real, the body begins to embody. This is why the ancient meditation works. Not because it transports you somewhere else, but because it anchors you so deeply in the now that the illusion of forward time disintegrates. You become aware of what the mystics called the eternal present. And here's the secret they feared you'd discover. The eternal present isn't a concept, it's an experience. A visceral, cellular state of awareness where time bends inward, not outward. Most people run from this moment because in stillness, time reveals what distraction conceals. Regret, fear, unprocessed memory, forgotten dreams. The psyche doesn't like being seen so naked, but this is the purification. This is the fire. This is where the bending begins. You begin to move differently, speak slower, perceive layers within layers. You feel more, and yet you're less reactive. Because your body is no longer synced to artificial time. It's synced to truth. And here, in the center of your being, you awaken something ancient. The body stops aging, not biologically, but energetically. Because stress ages, distraction fragments, but presence restores. So ask yourself, not rhetorically, but urgently, when was the last time you truly felt a single second? Let it haunt you, and as it does, remember to subscribe and tap the bell icon, because the spiral is just beginning to turn. If something is hidden long enough, people forget it ever existed. This meditation, this ancient act of warping time through stillness, wasn't forgotten by accident. It was erased, scrubbed from temples, diluted in doctrine, rewritten as metaphor, because what it unlocked couldn't be controlled, taxed, or contained. It gave direct access to the structure of time, and that kind of power doesn't serve systems. You've been told meditation is for stress, a tool to relax, something to help you cope. But this practice was never designed for comfort. It was designed for collapse, for confronting the illusion of linear time and awakening the ability to move within the moment, not just survive it. The ancient technique required no chance, no incense, no belief system, only presence. And presence, as it turns out, is terrifying. To sit so still that your awareness begins to expand, to remain so silent that your own mind becomes audible, to drop so deep that thoughts stop forming words. That's not meditation. That's initiation. And it begins with a single act: refusal. Refusing to chase the next thing. Refusing to escape the now. Refusing to measure value by speed or productivity. The deeper you go, the louder time reveals itself, not in clocks, but in patterns, symbols, echoes, and in that revelation, you remember what every mystic eventually realized. Time is a frequency, not a rule, not a line, not a prison, a frequency. And once you can feel that frequency, once your breath and blood begin to harmonize with it, you don't just exist in time. You begin to reshape it. This is why the technique was hidden, because a person who can slow time internally cannot be rushed, cannot be scared, cannot be bought. They live outside the pressure systems that keep most people anxious and obedient. They become dangerous, not violent, not rebellious, but sovereign. And sovereignty is the one thing empires, algorithms, and industries cannot monetize. This meditation does not promise bliss. It promises precision, and precision cuts through illusion like light through fog. So ask yourself honestly, when did you trade your inner silence for speed? And what would it take to reclaim it? Because when you do, when you finally sit still enough, long enough, you'll hear it. The breath between seconds, the sound of time slowing, the gate beginning to open. You think memory is a picture, a frozen frame, a fact, but memory is a frequency, an emotional imprint suspended in time. And just like time bends, so do memories. They aren't linear, they aren't passive, they're alive, waiting, looping beneath your awareness, shaping how you move, react, speak, even dream. This is why the meditation works. Not because it gives you insight, but because it returns you to the moments where you fractured, where you split, where time stored your pain and called it the past. But past isn't behind you, it's beneath you, layered like sediment in the body. And when the breath slows and the frequency begins to shift, those layers rise. You don't remember them, you relive them, because time isn't something you move through, it's something you carry. This is why the practice is not for the faint-hearted, because real meditation, the ancient form, doesn't calm you, it confronts you. It walks you back through the maze of emotional residue you thought you'd left behind. But your body kept score, your energy field preserved the echoes, and the spiral pulls you inward, not upward. And in this spiral, moments of trauma reveal themselves, not as enemies, but as gateways. Every moment you abandoned yourself can be reclaimed. Not by thinking, not by talking, but by feeling, by sitting so deeply in silence that the emotional frequency of that memory unfreezes and flows. This is the therapy no one teaches, because it cannot be sold, it can only be endured. And once it's endured, truly felt without resistance, it dissolves. Time, once frozen in pain, begins to move again, and when it moves, so do you. You're no longer trapped in reaction. You're no longer anchored to who you were in that moment. You are finally present, and in that presence, time obeys. Because the truth is, time doesn't control you, unfelt memory does, and memory is time's twin. So ask yourself, what memory are you still carrying? That's shaping every now you step into. And are you willing to feel it, not to fix it, but to free it? Because when you do, you bend time, and time finally lets go of you. To bend time, you must first exit it, not physically, but perceptually. You must shift from being the participant to becoming the observer, because as long as you're inside the performance, you're bound by its rules. But the moment you witness without reacting, without identifying, you disrupt the script, and time falters. This is the core of the forgotten meditation, to become still enough, spacious enough, silent enough that the mind no longer feels time as a current, but as a construct. Time controls through attachment. You attach to a past that no longer exists. You worry over a future that hasn't arrived. Your emotions bind you to moments that are gone, but still active, like echoes bouncing inside your chest. But when you observe, you unhook. You see a thought rise and let it pass. You feel an emotion surge and don't follow. You feel the pull of habit and remain still. And in that stillness, a strange phenomenon occurs. The flow of time begins to thin. Seconds stretch. Minutes blur. You stop measuring time by motion and start feeling it as presence. Presence is the alchemy, not because it gives you more time, but because it reveals that you are not time. You are what perceives it. This realization is dangerous to a system built on urgency, a system that needs you to believe you're late, that you're behind, that you must chase. But the observer chases nothing. The observer sees. And in seeing clearly, time loses its grip. It becomes pliable, flexible, obedient, not to the ego, but to awareness. And from this place you realize you've been trapped in a timeline created by fear, and now you are stepping out of it. You don't need to fix the future. You don't need to rewrite the past. You only need to stop believing in the line, because life was never a line. It was a field. And you are free to move across it, not by force, but by frequency. So now ask yourself, not hypothetically, but sincerely, if you could witness time without obeying it, what would you finally have space to become? By now, something inside you has changed, not in thought, but in rhythm. You've begun to feel time differently, not as pressure, but as space, not as urgency, but as silence. And in that silence, you've noticed something strange. Time doesn't move you. You move time. You enter a room and the energy shifts. You speak and conversations slow. You breathe and moments deepen. This is not coincidence. It's coherence. You are syncing your nervous system with something ancient, something primal. And when that sync happens, you become less like a passenger and more like a tuning fork. Time doesn't rule tuning forks. It responds to them. This is the secret the ancients encoded in labyrinths, in breathwork, in chants too precise to be random. They weren't worshiping gods. They were sculpting resonance. And once your body holds that resonance, time listens. You begin to bend timelines by choosing, by becoming so still, so vibrationally coherent that you magnetize moments instead of chasing them. Opportunities appear, people shift, decisions become effortless, not because of luck, but because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of confusion. You are tuned to clarity, and clarity bends time. It collapses delay. It stretches meaning. It shortens suffering. This is what the great teachers meant when they said, "Be still and know." Stillness isn't inactivity, it's command. It's when the storm obeys the center. And now that you've touched that center, maybe for the first time, you can't go back to living in noise, and you shouldn't. Because the noise was never neutral. It was engineered, designed to shake your frequency, keep you rushing, doubting, chasing. But you're not chasing anymore. You're vibrating, and the spiral is responding. So here's the question that shifts everything. What if time isn't something you lose, but something you attract? Let that question dismantle the story you've been told. And get ready, because in the next and final moment, we'll step into the doorway they tried to erase, the center of the spiral. There is a place no clock can find, a moment untouched by before or after. It doesn't belong to history. It doesn't await in the future. It's not later. It's not someday. It's now. So deep, so precise, so real that it makes every second that came before it feel like sleep. This is the center. And the ancient meditation you've been feeling all along, it leads here, not to a mountaintop, not to a cosmic revelation, but to this, the moment behind all moments. It's quiet here, not silent, but humming, pulsing, breathing with a rhythm so old it predates thought. And as you sit in it, not thinking, not waiting, not becoming, something happens. You disappear, not your body, not your memories, but the version of you that was bound to time, that raced the clock, that feared the deadline, that mourned the past and obsessed over the future. That version crumbles. And from what's left, something begins to emerge, not in words, but in presence. A self that is not made of time, but outside it. A self that is aware, alert, awake, without needing to do anything at all. You are no longer a prisoner of time. You are its witness, its sculptor, its echo. And from this vantage point, everything shifts. You begin to see that most people live in delay, not because they don't have time, but because they're disconnected from it. They've mistaken movement for presence, speed for power, planning for awareness. But you've seen through it now. You know that the most powerful thing you can do is be. So here's the truth they didn't want you to hear. You don't need more time. You need more now. Because everything you seek, everything you chase, everything you fear, it all dissolves in the center of the spiral. And you remain. Not as a version, not as a role, but as presence itself. So I'll leave you with this, and I want your answer in the comments. If you could live from this moment forward as if time served you, not ruled you, what would you finally create? Let that question undo you. Let it echo as you sit in the hum behind thought. And when the world gets loud again, and it will, come back here. Because this isn't just a video, it's a doorway. And now that you've stepped through it, you'll never see time the same again.